Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. I have the distinct impression that on this episode, just from the video and the sort of scene that I have here, I believe I'm talking to a fellow bibliophile, and in this case, I'm talking to publisher, creator Gerry Huntman. Gerry, thank you for jumping in and joining for a few minutes.
Thanks very much, Jason. It's an absolute pleasure indeed.
My pleasure, absolutely. I connected with you and your company through someone named Christopher Sequeira and have enjoyed sort of exploring the worlds of IPI Comics. And I want to make sure I get these letters right because I can forget my letters from time to time. IFWG, is that right?
Yeah, I'll look at it. It's probably worth mentioning. We called ourselves IFWG because many years ago, I mean, the publishing house has existed for 15 years. Prior to that, and Chris wasn't part of it at that time. We were part of. I was part of uh, I suppose, a reading beta group among up and coming authors, and we ostentatiously called ourselves the International Fantasy Writers Guild.
Ah, love it, love
And
it.
and that was because we were international. I was living in Australia. I'm an Australian. We had someone in Missouri, someone in New Jersey, someone in Nottingham in England. So yeah, we were international. What we didn't know was that at that time there was the International Funeral Workers Guild as well.
Ah, yes.
But anyway, whatever. But yeah, we in the end we called ourselves IFWG Publishing. It doesn't actually. That's what it officially is. That's what it is. It's not actually expanded.
Oh, love
But
it,
we can
love
give
it.
you a
Yeah.
little story like this every once in a while.
Love it, love it. Well, and I always appreciate publishing in the worlds of fantasy and the worlds of comics. So I'll mention a couple of titles that I believe are recent or on the way. Quake City being one of those, the Human Fly project that is currently underway, Superhumanity being another one of those as well. And publishing for 15 years, how many titles might we mention actually? Do you have a running count at this point?
To be honest with you, I sort of stopped counting. We probably publish around 20, between 15 and 20 a year.
hmm
That's books, not comics.
hmm
So multiply maybe conservatively 15 by 15. So, but actually be less than that. I'd say a bit over 200 overall. But on the other hand, from a comics point of view, as you no doubt had discussed with Chris, March next month is actually when we is the inauguration of our comic wing, and
hmm
we've got two comics, and you've already mentioned them, and and we've got about a slate of about 3 or 4 years already ahead of us
Nice,
uh,
nice.
which is, by the way, an important part of this whole process. It takes so long to build the project into conclusion
hmm
that you have to literally plan years ahead.
Wow,
That's a contrast to book publishing, which is about a year and a half. Comics can be longer. Mm.
wow. I was not aware of that. That's really interesting, and you really have to have that creative vision for what's ahead.
Well, yeah, yeah. There's a. I mean, as I'm a writer, but also a publisher. I don't publish my own work. I publish through other companies, but I um, I can't stop being a creator, even when I do
Mm-hmm.
make business decisions. But it's a nice mix, and Chris is the same thing. He's got amazing experience in the comic industry, but also in the book publishing industry, and he's invaluable as second in charge of the company and director of comics. And we it isn't just a case of saying, "Oh, I like this comic." It's a this comic idea, which of course is a big investment.
hmm
Uh, we would also say, "Hey, how does that fit with the other slated products that are going to be released roughly at the same time?" And it's really important to get that mix because we want to make sure our brand is going to be recognizable,
hmm
and we have to also make sure that we cater for the readership profile. that hopefully is comes with that branding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have comics been, since we're talking about sort of the launch of this new wing, have comics been part of your reading life for some time now, or is this kind of a new venture in terms of publishing?
It's comics have always been a part of my life. As
Yeah.
a child, I would read children's comics when I was a teen. Started getting interested in comics, and the old in those days, it's the like walk down to the local store and look at the slate of new comics that have appeared on the bench or whatever, and then
Hmm.
buy them. Um, in my 20s, I didn't buy as many, but there were some that I just couldn't. I mean, I think I've got every single Wolverine,
Oh,
literally ever
wow.
ever
Huh.
published. And I literally bought them when they were new. Yeah, there's that. Um, I mean, do I buy as many as I said when I was very young? No, but now I'm actually reading again, and partly because I'm in the business again. I'm now in the business,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
but I do rely very heavily on Chris from the not so much from the. I mean, Chris is just like a memory bank of everything comic, from the most obscure to the most popular, and I do rely on that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm a reader out there that is curious about what you have in mind for publishing, or if I'm someone who is a creator and I think, oh, I want to check them out and kind of see if what I'm making and the world I'm living in lines up, what sorts of stories are you particularly drawn to?
That's a really good question because Chris and I have had many hours talking about it
Hmm.
because it is part of our branding. But we ultimately understood that what we want to publish is what we like to read.
Hmm. Hmm.
It needs to be that. Otherwise, the amount of effort, the sweat, the blood, the tears, all of that would not necessarily balance particularly well on the
Hmm.
scales
Hmm.
of sensibility. But uh, we do like to produce some superhuman material, but we don't want to do a lot. So therefore, people who are like a pure superhero type readers,
Hmm.
they will find stuff with us, but that's not going to be our penchant. What we would mostly be looking for is the niche of an independent comic producer. Those people who want something quirky, high grade, high quality, because that's what we have to try to first of all achieve. So we're
Hmm.
looking for really good artists, good writers, good stories. We have a tendency towards a lot of genre stuff, so particularly horror.
Hmm.
I mean, as a book publisher, about half our books are horror of one form or another, weird horror, like Lovecraftian horror or even body horror, as long as it's got some reasonable literary bent to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So those are the sorts of things. The other thing that it's not slated this year, so I suppose you could call this a mini scoop or a minor scoop, but we absolutely love the golden age pulp style comics,
Hmm.
and we believe that we can reflect, like maybe even produce a line of pulp type material, so it sort of echoes back to the golden era, 30s,
Oh,
the
great.
40s, the 50s, but at the same time a modern take, perhaps even a different take. What's handy with that is that many fantastic products that were produced back in the 30s and 40s are still now starting to go into the public domain.
Hmm.
And therefore, we can not necessarily exactly copy, but it means that we can draw from a little bit deeper
Hmm.
into that era. So that's another area that we're interested in as well.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Always good things to read in the world of pulp. So glad to hear that. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. Um, so in terms of your creating, what connected you to writing from the creative side?
Oh gosh. Um, I mean, I was writing. I used to when I was in early high school. I had friends who were a few years older than me, so were in later years, and they hated writing. And when they had a creative writing, they were doing English, a language, English literature type course, and they're
Hmm.
told to do some creative writing. They came to me and I wrote for them. So I was a bit dishonest there. That's how far back it goes. I mean, is it, would I say that I always wanted to be a writer? No, but did I always write? Yes.
Hmm.
There's a lot of pressure in my family for me to be something like a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. And I spent a lot of time sort of delving in that space. And then I went, oh no, this is not me. So in the end, I became a writer. I'm a full-time writer. I've been a full-time writer for some years, and publisher. I'm lucky that I don't have a day job. Not many people can say that, so I am lucky. When I say not many people can say that because I'm not famous, right? I'm not. Um, but I do always I've always written and but it was only till was in my 30s when I started doing the serious stuff,
Hmm.
really trying hard to sell. And I think I've sold over probably now over 60 short pieces
Wow.
and a couple of novels and to be honest with you, at my age, doing publishing and writing is a conflicting um, exercise because you really want to write, but then, hey, I've got to do the books or whatever.
Yeah.
So somewhere down the track, I'm going to step back a little bit from the publishing, hand it over to a trusted person who will take over, and I'll just be an advisor.
Love it. I love the plan. I love the plan. I was going to ask about that relationship of writer and publisher because
Cool.
it's a unique one. And ideally, I would think as a writer, you would want your work in the hands of someone who does write and appreciates that world and understands it.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that the reasoning of your question and the logic space there. Uh, a lot of writers can't be publishers. They try
Mm,
to be, but they can't be. And I'm not trying to be elitist or anything. It's just you've got to have a business head as well. It's as simple as that. Uh, Especially in comics, because comics are a very heavy investment.
mhm,
You've got to spend a lot of money, and you also have to build up a business where you talk to other business people and say, I want a relationship with you. Like for example, our comic printer is Transcontinental in Montreal,
mm,
and
mm,
they print DC, right? I mean, they're one of the best printers in the business. Uh, we couldn't just go up and knock on their door and say, hey, um, can you print our comics? They'll come back and say, hey, who are you?
mhm. Right, right.
Right, and look, and then they're not being elitist either. I mean, they run a business. So, fortunately, because I've got a distributor that's worldwide, based in Chicago, because I've done this, that, and the other for 15 years and built up the business, you've got this street cred. You've got all the material behind you, and you can't do that if you just have a love of publishing. You've got to have contract management skills, financial skills,
Mm,
business
mhm,
skills. So yeah, it's so a lot of writers can't do it, but on the other hand, there's I can name a dozen fantastic writers who are also very good business people and are good publishers too. It's as I said before, the real challenge for a writer being also a publisher is having the urge to write and discovering that you don't have the time
mm,
to
mhm,
do as much writing as you would like. And that's always a challenge. I mean, I had a contract to write a novel for a publishing house, and I was a year late, and they were very kind to me
mhm,
uh, in allowing that. So that was good. Um, I do write short stories still once in a while. It's easier, just find these little moments, and I enjoy writing short fiction.
Hmm.
But yeah, eventually I'm going to bow a little bit out of the publishing side.
Yeah, yeah. You have an escape plan, but it's not a complete escape plan because you're
No,
still
not a
going to be
complete.
connected.
I'm a realist because I know that no matter what happens, people will still ask me questions. I will still be there in the shadows, looking
Mhm.
and seeing what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, well, I think the last official question, and then we can hit anything that we've missed, would be where can we find out more about IFWG and IPI?
Well, I mean, probably the easiest thing is just simply go to our websites.
Mhm, mhm.
So for IFWG Publishing, it's ifwgpublishing.com.
That works.
And for IPI Comics, it's ipicomics.com. The Uh, yeah, I mean, we keep those websites up to date. They provide a fair amount of information. Certainly, all our slates, all our, and our our back catalogue. If you hit about, you'll get a little bit of an idea, a bit more about me and Chris and others. It's the IPI Comics is new, so therefore it's not as big as IFWG Publishing, but we distribute our books through IPG, so there's lots and lots of acronyms
Mhm.
through IPG Books, which is a University of Chicago press
Oh,
company,
nice. Uh-huh.
and they've been going for over 50 years. They're one of the largest independent distributors in the world, and we're very fortunate that we expanded into a global distribution deal with them a few years ago. And what that means is that if you live in Japan or South Africa or the UK or Australia, our books are available. Uh,
Wonderful.
so that was certainly one of the keystones of maturation for our company.
Hmm.
And it took a lot of years to get there. We started with nothing. We didn't inherit Hachette or Penguin. We started from nothing. It took 15 years to get here. But
Wow.
yeah, just visit our websites. If you, I mean, by rights, our books should be available anywhere, but it comes down to whether retailers want to put them on the shelves or not. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate the vision. I appreciate the way you're continuing to expand and create, and I also appreciate the accessibility. Anything that we've missed that you want to make sure to share?
Um, Well, probably the comics is the number one thing on our minds at the moment,
Hmm.
because uh, it's taken about a year and a half of heavy negotiation, including meetings in San Diego and you name it. If anyone wants to see us, by the way, Chris and I, definitely Chris, I'm hoping I'm going to tag along as well. We're going to Montreal Comic Con later this year.
Wonderful.
Uh, and the reason why we're going there is because one of our flagship comics will be The Human Fly, the,
Hmm.
the return of the Human Fly. And Montreal, in fact, is the originating city and the main setting for The Human Fly. And it only makes sense that we should actually go there.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
by coincidence, our comic printer is based in Montreal as well. So, I mean, wow, that's nice. And we'll also be going. Maybe we're going to ReaderCon. That's a book thing. A ReaderCon in Boston, and then we absolutely will be going to San Diego Comic Con. That's the Mecca. That's the place where we strike deals. I mean, we struck about 5 project deals last time we were there.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. It's just the way you can. There's no substitute for face to face. Maybe a beer or something like that.
Hmm.
It's amazing what you can strike, and it was a very successful San Diego Comic Con for us last year, and it no doubt will be again this year. So if you're around, we're probably going to have panels in those two Comic Cons. Uh, See us.
Hmm.
But yeah, next month is when we have our first comics. It took a long time to get everything sorted. It's very complex machinery to make it happen, and we're very, very pleased to see it happen. Mm.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Gerry, thank you for the time. Glad to have you back anytime, and anyone from the creative team back anytime as you're continuing to expand.
Well, I look forward to that, and thanks for the time available to me. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks so much.